This weather charade is coming to an end, and I'm afraid we're going to have to pay the piper. We'll get into that in a few minutes. Now, if you're interested in the weather, you are in the right place. As I always say, you may not like the forecast, although I suspect some of you will like at least part of this one. Others, we'll see. But you will learn something along the way, and you will leave smarter than when you came. That is my promise to you, and we might just have a little bit of fun along the way as well. Now, if you want to know about the upcoming weather, there are 3 things you need to know about, and we're going to get started with thing number 1, which is an emotionally charged hot topic, and that is the hot tropics. Now, before we dive in too deep, I want to set the record straight on something. This time of year, there's always an awful lot of hype about the tropics. People are excited to talk about what's going on. Other people get upset because they feel like people that are talking about it are wish-casting hurricanes upon the United States. I want to be careful on this channel not to come across as doing that. I will give you my best analysis of what's going on. I understand that many of you have been through hurricanes. I have been through one myself. It's not fun, and I do not wish that on anyone, so I want to make that absolutely clear. That said, we have to talk about what's going on. I have some concerns about the pattern, and particularly as we get on out into August. Right now, there are no immediate threats of anything, so there's no need to panic or get too wound up about anything that we're looking at on this map right now. So I'll give you my best analysis. We're going to start here with Dexter, which is a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm making its way to the northeast and not going to affect anybody but fish. Now we've got another disturbed area of weather here off the southeast coast. It's formed into a weak low pressure system, and if it can get organized, a tropical depression could form. That said, none of the model guidance is showing a very strong system coming out of this, and eventually it's going to get kicked out to the northeast as a trough works in over the next several days. But there is a 40% chance of development with this. The most likely scenarios, any moisture associated with this would come into the southeast and bring additional rainfall chances there and enhance the rainfall rates. And then we have another big orange cone out here in the Atlantic. The tropical wave train has picked up. This area in our main development region is moistening up, and we're seeing tropical waves emerge off of Africa, and the models are keying in on several of those. One is here in the central Atlantic, one of those waves, and it has a 60% chance of developing and then moving to the west, northwest, or even eventually the northwest. Many of the models recurve this, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. Additional waves are coming off behind this. Here is the CPC tropical hazards outlook, and you can see for the week of the 13th through the 19th, we're looking at the opportunity for some of these later waves to begin to develop out here. The hatched area is around 20 to 30%, and then this area is 40 to 60% where it's all red. And then the following week, we have additional opportunities out here for development. So that is what the experts at the Hurricane Center and the Climate Prediction Center are seeing when they look out into the tropics. And so that's what we're seeing as well. If you look at the satellite image, where's that low pressure? It's hardly defined. It's very, very ill. It's just a weak circulation. Not much convection is with it off the southeast coast, so nothing imminent happening here. There goes Dexter. There comes a big cluster of showers and thunderstorms through Iowa. Another weak tropical wave bringing rain into the Bahamas. And then here's our tropical wave train way down here. You can see these. Here's a wave. There's a wave. Everywhere a wave, right? We've got waves coming out. There's plenty more back in Africa where that came from. This is tropical season, and these waves are going to come off, and we need to understand the environment. Is the environment conducive for development? So, well, let's take a look. First thing we're going to look at here is the pattern. This is the mid-level height pattern. It shows you where ridges and troughs are. If you have troughs, breaks in the ridges, that sends tropical cyclones to the north and out of our hair. Big ridges, orange areas, and these big circular oval type lines will indicate where those ridges are. That will help to keep cyclones to the south below the ridges. Around ridges, you have this anticyclonic flow, which is clockwise. Okay, you see that's how the flow goes around ridges, and that helps to keep things to the south. Now, as we go on out in time, this is today. If we watch the pattern out in the Atlantic, look, we've got a big break in the ridge. That would allow anything that develops down here to track to the north. So that's good. We keep on going, and we start to see this ridge build a little bit more and a little bit more as we go on out into Sunday and into Monday of next week. We get another little break in the ridge here. See how they're disconnected? You get a circle here and kind of an oval circle back to the right of your screen, and there you go. Look, you got a big break. So you do have some general ridging, but you've got this trough that builds in as we get into mid next week. Now, what happens beyond that? So anything that forms out here has an opportunity to, has an escape route, essentially. So we get way on out in time, looking out toward next Friday. Look what happens. We start to get big ridge center. So anything tracking down here is going to be underneath this ridge that is over the southeastern United States and then extending off out into the Atlantic. And you've got this big sort of broad ridging that takes shape over here over the north central Atlantic out in time. That is a concerning pattern because that's going to allow anything that forms down here to track this way. And the models are tending to show, as we get on out toward mid to late August, waves tracking underneath that ridge, and it is a pretty strong ridge at that. And then eventually you get a break. We don't want to see breaks right here in the United States area because that would give an escape route up through the eastern United States. So that's the concerning thing that I'm seeing on the pattern as we go on out toward the 20th of August or so. The other thing we need to look at is wind shear. Here is our main development region. Let me draw it so you see it. Right in here, okay? That's our main development region. And then as we go on out, as tropical systems emerge from there, they can get anywhere into this area over here, the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf, the southeast coast. Watch for wind shear anomalies here. It's our anomaly map, so we're looking at wind shear. Blue is favorable, red is unfavorable, white is sort of neutral. And as we go on out in time, we see a lot of reds over the southeast. Reds in the main development region start. Look what happens as we get way on out in time. Look at those blues take over. We're starting to see blues and whites. This is below normal wind shear where you see the blues. So we've seen blues emerge off the southeast coast, whites in the Gulf, whites along the main development region, blues in the Caribbean Sea. Look at that. So any waves that track over here are going to have a favorable wind shear environment. The waters are very, very warm. We're talking about 80s and 90s water temperatures. As a matter of fact, I'll just show you that right now. Look at this. Here's our water temperature map. I'm doing this right on the fly. Sorry, folks, but this is good to see. Look at this. I'll display so you can see this. There is our water temperature map. Look at these 29s and 30s. This is mid to upper 80s, approaching 90 in spots in here. So very, very, very warm ocean waters. So anything that tracks in here will have the opportunity to have plenty of fuel to work with. And finally, here is what some of the models are actually showing. This is the European operational model. And watch what happens. There goes Dexter. You can see that easily in the middle of the screen. Nothing's happening over here as we get into Thursday, but here comes a wave. It's picking up on this one first lead wave out here, and watch what it does with it. Sends it straight northwest and eventually weakens it, and there comes a little low coming off of that area of disturbed weather off the southeast coast, tracking out into sea. Nothing harmful there, just some showers left over the southeast. And it sends that low, it doesn't do much with it, but it sends the main development low up into the middle Atlantic and out into the ocean. No harm, no foul there. But look what happens with the secondary wave behind it down here in the main development region. You see that? Kind of pokes it along, develops it slowly. We get over here into the warm, warm waters, and look what happens. Low shear, we get a big tropical cyclone as we get out here to the end of the run toward August the 20th. You see what I was saying about that ridge? It allows systems to track across the ocean if they develop. And there are plenty of waves with an opportunity to develop. So by the time we get into mid-August, we're going to have to really watch here along the southeast into the Gulf and see what's happening down here in the Caribbean, because if there's a hurricane or a tropical storm in here, we could have a pattern in place that would allow for it to make it into parts of the United States. So not trying to hype it up or scare you, but it's at least good to pay attention to what's going on now. There might not be a tropical system here at all. Look at what the GFS shows. There is Dexter right here in the middle of your screen. If you look at that little wave, it sends that lead wave coming out in the central Atlantic in our MDR. It sends it right up along where the Euro had it too. There comes a little wave that finally develops and moves on out to sea, so nothing going into the states there, so that's good. And then it recurves this one. Eventually, it recurves it. See, there it goes. Right, it found the escape route in the ridge. Here comes the next wave. The Europeans started to develop this. What does the GFS do with it? Well, not not all that much, to be honest. It just brings it right into Cuba and Hispaniola and up and sends the moisture into the Bahamas, and we don't have a storm. So what does this tell you? It tells you that there are plenty of solutions on the table. I could show you ensembles, and I may show the ensembles tomorrow and give you an idea of what development looks like, but I already told you what development looks like. There's probably going to be some development out here, and you've got a couple of tracks. The first lead wave is likely to go to the north and out to sea. The second one is likely to track along the periphery of that ridge toward the east. It may develop, it may not. There's no way to know yet, but we're going to keep watching it here. That's my promise to you, and I'll keep you in the loop. That is thing number one. Thing number two is coming up next, and that is severe weather. But before we get to that, got your weather IQ question straight ahead. All right, we're going to take a break from the tropical question set and just do some general IQ, okay? So here's what we've got for you today on Hump Day, Wednesday. Which of the following is not a type of precipitation? Graupel, dew, hail, or mist? I hope you don't have to grapple with this question too long, but if you do and don't know the answer, just wait till the end of the show and I'll reveal it to you. If you know it, type it in the comments and let's see if you got it right. We'll come back to the answer here in just a little bit, but right now we've got to take a look at the severe weather threat because there is a severe weather threat. Well, unfortunately, the same areas that have seen severe weather all summer are still under the gun, and that shows really no signs of change, though this afternoon the threat is isolated through South Dakota into the Corn Belt around Iowa. Up here in northern Minnesota, we have an isolated risk of severe weather. Could see a few wind reports. Tornadoes not really a threat today. Wind and hail are the primary areas should storms fire, and we expect a couple of those to fire up. Better chance tomorrow over North Dakota back into Montana. We're going to see a little piece of energy come in and sort of enhance the risk tomorrow. A small tornado risk as supercells fire up initially and then merge into segments and clusters, and we get a hail and wind threat, particularly hail where this hatched area exists. You could see here in North Dakota, you could see hail over 2 inches in diameter. So that's what's on the docket for tomorrow. But the big risk of severe weather comes in on Friday. Already an enhanced risk up here where North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota all meet. Anywhere in the eastern Dakotas, northern Nebraska, and east or west central rather Minnesota could see a significant severe weather outbreak tomorrow. We're looking for Friday rather. We're looking for tornadoes, high winds, and large hail. We already have a significant area outlined by the SPC. Going to see a surface low develop, move in that area, enhance the spin, and really see things kind of crank up as we get through the day on Friday. Lots of instability is going to exist. Here's the mid-level winds. We've got an anticyclone here, high pressure ridge, and winds flow around it in a clockwise fashion, and you get these spokes of energy moving in. Here's a trough coming in like this, and it's sending energy in. Energy around the apex of that ridge enhances the severe weather threat. There's another high pressure ridge here in Canada sending smoke back into the United States. Here's the trough that's been plaguing the southeast and keeping everything unsettled down here in the southeast. Now all of that's going to persist. That trough's going to work into the northwest, and look what happens. It sends energy in, not much going on today, but tomorrow we start to see that little bit of wind energy enhance the risk up here as it makes its way on into the northern plains. But look what happens on Friday. We see a big response here in the mid-levels to a low pressure developing in the low levels. All of that's going to work to bring a significant severe weather threat into North and South Dakota, Minnesota as we get on into Friday. Instability is really going to be on the increase today. It's already very high. There's just not a lot of shear to kind of kick things off and get a lot of thunderstorm activity going, thank goodness. But look what happens tomorrow. Start to see blacks, a lot of blacks and whites. This is 5+ 1,000 joules of instability. That's really strong. And then what happens as we get into Friday? Look at this, just blacks everywhere. This is off the scale, 5,000 and 6,000 joules per kilogram. That is strong, extreme instability. Anything that fires up is going to go severe just like that. When you have wind energy to help organize, you've got a severe weather threat on your hand, potentially a little regional outbreak here. And if we take a look at what happens with the radar, there's some showers working through Minnesota that moves into Iowa this morning, dissipates through the day, and then we get a few clusters here popping up, a couple supercells, a couple of clusters popping up in South Dakota through the afternoon. That will dissipate through the night. We'll start to see maybe a secondary system form in Iowa and move on off through the evening hours, bringing some wind, maybe a severe rumble of or threat or two there. And then tomorrow here in the late afternoon, mid to late afternoon, we start to see supercells break out here in North Dakota, form into a line segment, and then another round hot on its heels as the first one heads into northern Minnesota. We get another round here in North Dakota, so could see multiple rounds tomorrow with some heavy rain up there as well. And that's what happens through the central plains into the southeast is another area of concern for flooding, as some of these storms this morning merge into a little sort of this line segment here and persist through the afternoon and then spread east with time, dropping 2 to as much as 3 inch per hour rainfall rates over the course of the day. That will shift into the I-95 corridor as we get on into the evening hours and down along the coastal regions. And then as we get on in through the nighttime hours, things will dissipate a little bit, fire back up tomorrow and really just scattered showers through central state. The big focus is across the foothills and the mountains and across the coastal plain and coastal sections, and then down into Florida as well as we go through tomorrow. And there is a flooding threat. Some of the models paint the location of this threat in different places, but generally speaking, anywhere in the Piedmont Triad area of North Carolina into south central Virginia back through Charlotte and upstate of South Carolina, you could see a couple of inches of rain, maybe 2 or 3 inches, and then down here in the coastal plain looks where the highest amounts may fall along the I-95 corridor. Could see 2 to 4 inches of rain in spots. We could see more than that. We saw flooding in Charlotte last night with some water rescues, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of that where thunderstorms train and drop a lot of rain in a hurry here in the southeast. And not to leave our friends in the northwest high and dry, and they're not going to be high and dry today. They're going to be quite wet up here especially in northern Oregon and Washington, Seattle, Spokane, all getting in on some rain today. That will shift into Montana. Monsoon will flow out here in the southwest, keeping you guys under clouds and showers through the afternoon today. Things will dissipate through the evening, and we'll see drizzle and cloud cover extending into the northwest tomorrow. Idaho, parts of western Washington, and Montana. We'll see things kick off tomorrow afternoon and give you all some more rain and thunder and a severe weather threat farther east in Montana. That's your severe weather outlook. Threat number 3, or interesting weather thing number 3, is coming up right now as we take a look at the rest of the work week for the nation. All right, here's our alerts map. Still looking through haze and smoke up here in the Great Lakes Northeast, although it's getting a little bit better every day, as I said it would. It's just taking its own sweet time as the high pressure is just kind of keeping things locked in. Flood watches up for central North Carolina, with flood warnings already up for parts of the area, including Wake County, and a couple of flood watches down here in southwestern Georgia. Heat advisories in South Florida and northern Texas, eastern New Mexico, and heat warnings, extreme heat warnings, where we're going to see temperatures continue in the mid 1-teens to upper 1-teens through the rest of the week, and red flag warnings where it's hot and dry and windy, going to be gusting into the 30s, maybe even 40s tomorrow as wind picks up as that energy from the trough moves into the west. There is your air quality map. Not as bad as yesterday, not as many reds on here. Certainly see some oranges up here, of course, as well, down toward DC, Dallas, in here in western Colorado. Still got wildfire smoke to deal with. Las Vegas, Los Angeles, not all that great either. Here is the temperature anomalies as we go out over the next few days. This is where we're going to find above and below normal temperatures, and as a matter of fact, today we're looking at above normal temperatures. Let's go here, and we'll start here for today. As much as 10 degrees below normal here in the southeast, including me, and it's finally not raining. There's partly cloudy skies out the window again here in the northwest, but as much as 10 degrees above here in the desert southwest, and of course above in the plains. And we advance this along. Tomorrow, there's your temperature anomaly, much the same, just warming up here in the plains and getting in a little bit. We're just starting to warm up here finally in the southeast, cooling off the northwest, continuing to warm in the plains up toward the Great Lakes as we get into Friday. This is Friday high temperatures. And then as we get on into Saturday, much the same story, still hanging on to some cool anomalies in the southeast, and up here in the northern plains, there's your corridor of warmth right through the nation's midsection up into the northeast. And there we go as we get on into Sunday. So expect warmer than normal temperatures from the northeast to the southwest, and eventually across the west coast of the United States too. Northern plains and the southeast will hang on to cooler than normal temperatures through the weekend, but change is a coming, folks, and it's a coming in a big way, and we're going to have to pay the piper here soon. There's your precipitation as we go through the day. Today you see where the trouble spots are, the northwest and the southeast as we get on into Friday. Big storms starting to develop here as we see the future radar show that. Not too bad in the northeast, not too bad in the southern plains. Going to see some showers persist through the southeast on Saturday and Sunday. We're going to see that severe threat shift into the plains as we get on into Saturday and Sunday as well, or the Corn Belt region, the mid-Missouri Valley region or so, and could see a few more showers Sunday afternoon as well in the southeast. Those are your trouble spots, northeast, west coast. Southern plains don't look too bad at all for the weekend. Now, the long-range forecast is going to feature a pretty significant pattern change. It's going to be like a slap in the face for those that have been seeing cool anomalies. All right, here's a quick look at the long range, starting out with our big high pressure ridge in the Four Corners region, our big trough that's bringing unsettled conditions here to the east coast, another trough working in, or the southeast at least, another trough working into the northwest. As we get into Thursday and Friday, look at that, still seeing wedging and still seeing troughing hanging on here in the east, although it's getting less and less. And eventually, as this trough comes into the nation's midsection, it's going to bring that severe weather threat and shift that east into the Mississippi Valley over time, and it will lessen as well as the bulk of the energy pulls up north into Canada, ridging along both coasts. Big Bermuda high building in here from the southwest will moisten back up the atmosphere and give us all a tropical feel as we go on out in time, and that trough will kick off any development that occurs off the southeast as we get on into next week. So nothing to really be too concerned about there, but over time we get this big flat ridge. This will be conducive, as I showed you earlier, for any tropical activity working through the Caribbean to maybe make a northward trajectory in here. So we're going to watch and see if anything is coming in here. I'm a little bit concerned about the pattern, but that doesn't mean there's going to be a storm there. So we're going to watch and see. This pattern supports a storm, so we need to watch it. And here are your temperature anomalies as we go on out through time, days 1 through 5, days 2 through 6. And you can see how these things just sort of, as we go on out, we're going to see everybody warming up. We're going to get back into a warm pattern. This fake fall that we've had is coming to an end, and we're going to see summer kick back up in a big way. Tropical, hot, humid conditions will prevail. And as we take a look here at the Climate Prediction Center, big signal for above in the east as we get out into the August the 13th through the 19th period, below in Alaska, above in Hawaii, near normal along the west coast, above average precipitation along the northern tier where the little pieces of energy will move. That's where the jet stream is going to be, and then potentially back here into the south and the interior east, where we're going to see a little bit of troughing persist, but then back in where we really need the rain, we're not looking at a lot of it. And that's the show for today. We're going to go ahead and get to the weather IQ. Nothing happening on the geological front, space weather front. Still watching a coronal hole turn toward us. It will enhance the solar wind. Got a little bit of a minor sunspot that occurred, or a sunspot, solar flare from a sunspot. And so we're going to watch and see what happens in terms of maybe getting some minor geomagnetic conditions to develop over the next few days. But that's about it for now. Going up to that full moon, that is going to be in 3 days. Today is the 6th, full moon's on the 9th. So keep that in mind, folks. But here is the question, the answer to today's question. Which of the following is not a type of precipitation? Graupel, dew, hail, or mist? And of course, the answer is dew. Dew forms directly on surfaces as the temperature cools and the dew point comes up and the humidity approaches 100%. So it's condensation. That's what dew is. It's not precipitation. And there you have it, folks. One other thing to just note, today is the anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima. And on August the 6th, 1945, the U.S. dropped the first atomic bomb called the Little Boy on Hiroshima in Japan. A B-29 bomber carried that, and lots of people were killed, of course, as we know. It put an end to World War II. That and the Nagasaki bombing both put an end to World War II, along with several other things that happened in Europe. But that was the beginning of the end. So that is what happened today, back in 1945. Now you know history, now you know the weather, and as always, this is Cold Rain reminding you that other stations run 24/7, but we got you covered right here, right now, at Cold Rain's Weather World, 4814. Thanks a lot, folks. I hope you have a wonderful day. Keep us in your prayers. I'll pray for you. Let me know if there's something I can specifically pray over for you. Put it in the comments section. Let me know where you're commenting from, all right? Take care. Have a great day.